Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to the Netherlands once again, so a shout out to my loyal Dutch follower Stevie, or Steve as his regular name is, but for this one we are going to go to the little town of Muiden, which is near Haarlem to the west of Amsterdam. So we're going to go to Brouwerij Kinhem and have a taste of their Fazant beer, which they describe as being Kinnemers Bruin beer, but this one is an Abbey Double with the addition of Kinnemers Honey, which is why it has that name, and it's quite well rated on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate, so it should be a nice one for us to try. And all of the Dutch beers that I've tried on the channel for you so far have been really good, and I always think it's a shame with the Netherlands because they're kind of next, or in between, sandwiched by two big beer producing countries in Germany and Belgium, so you don't hear much of the Dutch beer, but when you actually do find it, it is of really good quality, and I hope you'll take my word for that. And it's the same with France as well. There's some really good beer out there, so you just need to search for it. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll take you through a very brief history of the brewery. It will only be a minute or so long, but if you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. The brewery website's in the video description for you below, and there's also a link down there that will take you to my future reviews from Brouwerij Kinhem. This is the very first time I'm trying something from these guys, so the next time I go to the Netherlands I'll get one of their other beers as well. And please also add me as a friend on Untappd and go and like my Facebook page as well. That would be much appreciated. But anyway, as I told you, Brouwerij Kinhem are based in Muiden in Haarlem in the Netherlands, which is to the west of Amsterdam, but they were founded back in 2009 by Louis Schegevaert, and like many new generation brewers, if you like, he actually started to homebrew as a hobby but then decided to turn professional after many instances of positive feedback. He was taking his beers to a lot of beer tastings and to a lot of beer clubs and things like that, and he got some really good feedback, so he decided to become a professional brewer. But the brewery actually started out their commercial brewing activities at Brouwerij Te Volen, which is in Volendam, and each brew is about 500 litres, so it's a very small scale thing, but I believe they're looking to open up their own bar and their own and actually get their own brewery at some stage soon as well. But that was all the information I could actually find on this brewery, so it's a very kind of very little information available on these guys. So without further ado, we'll actually get stuck into this beer and get on with the tasting. So let me just bring up the artwork, or the camera for this one, and let you have a little look at the artwork. So as you can see, there's a nice pheasant just chilling in the grass there with this one. Kinnemers Bruin beer, as I say, honey beer this one. It's got a little bee on the side as well. You can just see him right there to tell you that there's honey in this one, and it tells you some things in Dutch on the side. But basically the idea that Louis had behind founding this brewery was that he wanted to use fair trade ingredients and brew beers on Dutch soil. So this was his motivation behind founding this brewery. But it's a plain bottle cap on this one, really quite nicely presented. You can see the little Dutch flag down in the corner just here. But yeah, it looks a very nice beer. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this guy. So as you can see, a nice smoky opening there on this one. You can really smell the kind of caramel and dark malts on this one as you open it up. But an Abbey Double is actually one of my kind of favourite styles of beer. When I first went to Belgium, I really liked the Tripels, but then when I went to the Netherlands and had a shot of some of their Doubles, I really got more into the Double style of beer as well. You can really smell the fruit off this as well, actually, as you just let it settle in the glass. But a very nice smelling beer without even paying too much attention to it. So as you can see, it's poured a nice kind of mahogany brown colour. There's a few bits of sediment just floating around in the bottom of the glass there, but that's to be expected. I mean, I've had the beer for about a year and it's been in the fridge the last 3 days. It's been well cellared though, so I know it's still good. There's a finger of a frothy, kind of cream coloured head on this one. Not quite white, definitely a cream coloured. The beer's not transparent at all, as you can see if I stick my fingers behind it, but it looks very nice. Some big bubbles of carbonation sticking to the side of the glass, but quite a few just going up towards the bottom of the head there, so it looks a very nice beer. So let's give it a smell. Yeah, that's interesting. You can really smell the difference in this one between the honey and a sort of stereotypical caramel, if that makes sense. It actually smells it reminds me a little bit of the smell of mead, this beer. But yeah, you've got a big honey aroma in this one, which is exactly what you'd expect. There is a bit of a kind of darker caramel, and that comes across as being a little bit toasted. There is an element of kind of a bready, yeasty character in there as well, and perhaps some dried red fruity esters too. You can smell that more if you just let it settle, and when you pour it out the bottle you can pick up these red fruity esters. There is a fig base to it, but it is more of a kind of sharper plum or raisin note that you're getting out of this beer. But yeah, a really interesting honey one. I don't know too much about Kinnemers Honey, if that's one of the bigger brands in the Netherlands or if it's a local brand that they're using, but this beer smells very nice. And you can notice the difference with the aroma of this one, that it smells like honey rather than a typical caramel that you would get from the Low Countries. But yeah, very, very nice smelling beer. So as I always say with the beers, before you try them, give them a smell and see what they're like. This one's got a really beautiful honey aroma to it. But yeah, without further ado, let's get stuck into this guy. So this is the Fazant from Brouwerij Kinhem, from IJmuiden in the Netherlands, Slanje, or Proest as they would say over there. That's quite interesting actually. Never quite tasted a double like this one. Yeah, it's a lot lighter in the mouthfeel, I think, than some of the Belgian doubles. Dutch beer, of course, does have its own little its stylistic differences, but definitely lighter than any Abbey double I've had before. But yeah, you can pick up again the difference with the honey flavour in this one. It blends in. You've got a kind of bready malt base that just blankets the middle of the tongue there. There's a bit of cereal in there too, so it does have a bit of a kind of brownie bread, or even not quite a cakey malt base to it, this one, but definitely a sort of brown rye bread malt base that just blankets the middle of the tongue there, and the honey really blends in quite well with that. It's almost as if it's a little bit lighter rather than being a dark, more kind of cloying sweetness that comes out of it. The honey works really well with this beer. Yeah, the honey sweetness in this is just quite subtle, and it works very, very well with the bready characteristics of the beer. For this one, it's not quite as in your face as some of the Belgian beers. It's more a subtle and well blended flavour you're getting out of this beer. But yeah, as you progress through it, you will notice a little bit more of the darker, slightly toasted caramel coming out just in the middle of the palate, but the honey element of the beer really mixes quite well with that nice kind of brown rye bready malt base there. It's really beautifully done, this beer, actually. Yeah, you're also getting a little bit of a kind of nutty or woody flavour in the middle of your palate on this one. There's a whole interesting kind of blend of things going on in this beer, so just pay attention to your palate as you're having a wee sip of this beer. Yeah, there is a definite red fruity ester characteristic to this beer as well. I would say it's more of a figgy flavour in the aroma. It comes across as being a little bit figgy, but also at the same time you've got some elements of the plums or raisins in there. But the fruity flavour, you're getting it just behind the very front of the tongue there. It is more of a kind of figgy smoothness that you're getting from this rather than the sharpness from the raisins of the plums. It's nicely done. Yeah, nice juicy characteristic, this one, I have to say. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one, as I say, it's quite light-bodied for a double, I would say. Probably pushing the mid-bodied category a little bit more, I would say, but the carbonation in it is quite smooth. It's quite a wet mouthfeel, this one, but it's got a nice big malt characteristic in it. It's a nice smooth malt, but it's not really pushing the really kind of cloying sweetness, if you like, that you can get from some of these triples and doubles and stuff like that. It's a nice subtle bready caramelly honey sweetness that you're getting from this one. It's really quite nicely done. There is a little bit of juicy character from the figgy fruits in it, but there's a good bit of alcohol warmth coming out of this, and there is a bit of boozy flavour to it. You will notice that when you try this beer. But you do get a bit of alcohol warmth down here as well. But overall, it's quite a quirky and quite an interesting double beer, so it's definitely worth having a go of if you get the chance to try it. How easy it is to find this outside of the Netherlands, I really don't know, but it should be. It's a very nice beer, and I would recommend that you give it a go. It's really different from any of the other stuff that I've tried. But yeah, so if you want a nice and quirky Abbey double beer, then go for the Kinnem Fazant. It's really quite an interesting beer, and the honey element to it rather than the big caramel makes it quite interesting and quite quirky, so do check it out. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been cool to do another one for you from the Netherlands, because not often that you get to review some of the more random Dutch breweries, especially being Scottish, and you can't really find many Dutch beers over here except the likes of Rui Dop or what was Rui Dop, De Molen you can find as well. There's only a few Dutch breweries you can get over here, so to get one of the smaller ones like Kinnem is pretty cool. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. As always, please let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on the beer if you do happen to have tried it before. Always interesting to read them. Please go and add me as a friend on Untappd, and you can follow the beers that I've got coming up for you in my next reviews. And please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and like my Facebook page as well. But until my next beer review, it's slàinte for now, and I do have another Dutch one to do for you from this kind of series, and you'll see that coming up soon. Slàinte, Prost.